Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the series Make a VTuber with me. I know it's been a while, but it's not because I forgot. Um, these things just take a long time, and for this episode, I actually had to learn a brand new program. So that's why it took forever. Anyways, well, that's part of it. Anyways, so today I have for you guys kind of some mix of vlog and I'm gonna do a little explaining. So I'm just going to get right into it. Alright, so the program that I used today, or for this new updated model, is called RahiTuber. It is by a developer called Rahisaurus. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it is quite an amazing program, actually. I was very pleasantly surprised. It was really. It was complicated in the sense that it had the capability of doing a lot, but it wasn't complicated like I felt like I was drowning, or um, I felt that I just couldn't learn or figure out how to do anything. It was very intuitive, but I would like to preface this by saying I am pretty well experienced in Adobe After Effects and a lot of like complicated software like Maya and ZBrush. So big, bulky computer programs are not new to me. So that's just my personal experience. But I still would like to say um, it's very cohesive, and it just kind of makes sense. A lot of the things even with minimal explanation, a lot of the things make sense, especially once you kind of get a feel for it. I will say though, and I would like to give lots of credit because I actually, before I jumped into this program, I did a little research on what programs that I could use and what programs would suit my needs. Eventually, I would like to go into live 2D or even a full 3D model, but in terms of skill, I personally am not there yet, and I wouldn't be able to make a good model using those programs quite yet. So, anyways, I did some research. I know there's a lot of other programs out there. There's PNG Tuber Plus, and there's. I, I don't know, honestly, that was the other one that I really researched. I can't think of much more off the top of my head, but there's a lot of them out there, and I'm sure they're all very good in their own right. One of the biggest reasons I picked this program in particular is because one of the most common comments on this program was that the developer was very easy to get a hold of. And that was really nice to hear, because there's one thing that is, that can make starting a new program or just using a program in general really difficult is not being able to contact the developer, especially when something goes wrong. So that was one thing that really started to get me to drift towards RahiTuber. Another thing was I found a very good comprehensive guide and tutorial by Kip. I will link their videos in the description below. They did a really amazing job explaining everything. There were some parts that were explained like so much, and in the video they said you could skip parts, but they even went into like the physics and how things work. Personally, for me, all of that made sense because, again, I'm very versed in Adobe After Effects and there's a lot of similarities. But it was really cool, really helpful. I binge watched their tutorial part 1 and 2. Part 3 is not quite out yet. Um, as of when I'm recording this, I'm pretty sure it's not out yet. But I binge watched their part 1 and 2 tutorial, and that set me up really well to go into the program. I didn't need to like take notes, or there was a few times I had to refer back to the videos because I'd like forgotten how to do something, or I was having a problem and I remembered they addressed it in the video. So there were only a few times that happened, but their tutorials were really, really good. And so if you are interested in this program, but you're a little daunted by by how complicated it looks, I would highly recommend this person, Kip. And I will put all the information in the description because I could not have gotten where I got without their tutorials. But anyways, moving on. Alright, in classic me fashion, I totally forgot to film most of this, but this is gonna be my base sketch of my new model. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm using a program called VTuber. I don't really know what I'm doing, but we're gonna try. Anyways, this is gonna be the whole thing. Like this. The reason there's so many overlapping things is because I have to draw what's behind something. So like, for example, the hair is gonna move when I move, so the horns need to, like, you know, exist behind the hair. So anyways, I tried to remember to record, and of course I didn't, so this is what it looks like right now. I'm gonna keep going. This is gonna be so many layers. This is gonna be, oh my god. So, obviously, the first step, you need to draw it. And this is just a me preference. Your model does not have to look like what my model does, or really, I mean, your model can be whatever. So, if this is something that interests you, but you're a little worried because you're not an artist, please don't be worried. There are so many workarounds. You can do really simple drawings because, you know, not everyone needs to have like a incredibly beautiful, fully rendered VTuber. I'm gonna be making a model for my friend, and he's a slice of bread. So if you are worried about your artistic ability going into this, please don't. There are workarounds. You can have someone else draw, and then you can work on it, or you can have stuff that are really simple. There's lots of ways, but anyways, so that's kind of what the first step was, is to, you know, draw. So that's what I'm addressing in this clip. Alright, it is several hours later. We're still going, but we're making good progress. We have pretty much like the base done. I'm trying to decide if I want to color like arms and stuff. It's for under the sweatshirt. But I'll think about it later, it's fine. But anyways, yeah, the whole face is very much done. I still need to do like the blinking and the mouth movements, but that's not too difficult. Also, each of these spikes is an individual layer in case I want to move it, like in case I want certain physics. I don't know if I'm gonna use it, but that's, you know, that's what we're doing. But yeah, making good progress. And as you can see, I actually, side note, this is one of the first times I used the symmetry tool in Procreate. I don't know why, but I've never used it before. I don't know. I've never drawn like full frontal face-on poses. I don't really like full front poses, but I wanted it in this instance because for specifically the facial structure, I wanted things to be very symmetrical. But anyways, yeah, I actually in the very end I mentioned that it's gonna be a lot of layers. Fun fact, I actually hit the max amount of layers for the canvas size in Procreate, and I ended up having to go into two other different documents or two different canvases in order to continue what I was doing. Luckily, like the base model was pretty finished in the main canvas, but I did hit the layer limit. But the other two documents I ended up making as I'll explain it a little bit later, but the mouth movements and the hands. And again, you'll understand that more later, I promise. I haven't shown you what the model looks like on purpose. Alright, it is several hours later. We're still going, but we're making good progress. We have pretty much like the base done. I'm trying to decide if I want to color like arms and stuff. It's for under the sweatshirt. But I'll think about it later, it's fine. But anyways, yeah, the whole face is very much done. I still need to do like the blinking and the mouth movements, but that's not too difficult. Also, each of these spikes is an individual layer in case I want to move it, like, if in case I want certain physics. I don't know if I'm gonna use it, but that's, you know, that's what we're doing. But yeah, making good progress. And as you can see, I am moving right along. I think it's really interesting, actually, when I'm talking about the spikes on the choker. I actually mention how I'm making each of the spikes their own layers, but I wasn't sure if I was going to use that because that's kind of, that's going a little crazy. But I actually did end up using it, and I'm really glad I did. And this isn't by no means a tutorial on how you should do this. This is just me talking about my experience. But if you were to go and do this, I would really, really recommend adding more layers than you think you need. Because, as I said in that clip, I made each of the spikes their own layers, and I thought that was going to be crazy and too much. And then it wasn't, and I actually ended up using and adding physics to each of the spikes. I don't know if you'll be able to notice in the final model, but I think it does add a nice touch. And I actually had a few layers that I kind of wished weren't one layer. There were just some instances where I wanted something to move or move a certain way, and I couldn't because all of the layers were combined, and I was like, dang. But again, and adding on top of that, there were also layers that I ended up not needing or deleting. I would like to mention in this program, I'm not sure if I did something wrong. It's very possible I did something wrong. But in this particular program, I had a few layers that were like shadows. And I noticed that when I imported them into the program, they lost their opacity. So I originally dropped their opacity to, make them look like shadows. But when I imported them into the, into VTuber, they went back to their default 100% opacity. So I did end up getting rid of some shadow layers because they just didn't look good. I would also like to mention, if you're a fan of clipping masks, those also kind of go away within the program. Again, totally could have done something wrong, or maybe there is a feature like that and I just didn't know where it was. But there were some things that were like a clipping mask inside another thing. And I also had to get rid of that because they were no longer constrained to their parent layer and they were moving outside of it. And again, it didn't really look good. So, but it wasn't really a hard loss, honestly. I'm not mad about it. It's fine. It was it was literally, I think, two of those layers, like 2 layers. So it was not a big deal, but yeah, it definitely is something to keep in mind. Alright, so it is the next day. I stayed up way too late working on this, but I am quite satisfied. I did add an expression. I don't know if I'm going to use it in making her, but I have it anyways. I just have a pissed off face. I know this part looks weird, and I know why. I'll fix it when I, rig her and all, but I have, like, the angry expression, and yeah, so we're just continuing on. I think I'm gonna add one more expression. I think I'm gonna add surprised. And then we should be good to go into the program soon. I'm so scared though. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, so, as I said, I did stay up way too late. But that's okay because I didn't have to get up early, so it was fine. This was something I really enjoyed making, so part of it was me just having fun. It wasn't me feeling like I needed to reach any kind of deadline, or I felt like I just needed to get a new model out right now. This was genuinely me just having fun. But anyways, and as you saw, I added an expression change, which I said I potentially might not need, but again, here we are. I actually did need it. I mean, needed is a strong word, but I did have time to add it, and I added it in, and I'm very happy that I did, and I'm happy that I drew it at all. So, as I said previously, I'd say just go for it, go crazy, add anything you want, and it's a lot easier to just delete it out of the program than it is to go back and redraw everything and have to put it back in the program and all that good stuff.
Okay, I know I said I was done, but I wasn't done, and I added some like hands. I added like an art pad, which is this black thing. It's not great, but you know, it needs to get the message across. um, and then I added like this little drawing hand. I'm hoping it will never go past like that point, but you know, we'll see. I might have to add like a sleeve to it. And then I added this little controller thing. I was gonna animate it, but I wasn't really sure like what would move exactly other than like the fingers ever so slightly. So I think I'm gonna leave it stagnant, but maybe one day I'll come back and like animate it, because I do exclusively game with a controller. So anyways, I know I said I was done, but psych.
Yes, so in the last clip I was like, yeah, I'm almost done, and then in this one I was like, nope, I'm not done, I lied. But again, going back to what I said before, I was genuinely just having fun, and so I was just adding things that I thought were potentially useful or cool, and I was like, wow, yeah, I want to add this, and I want to add this. And at this point I was just kind of drawing things to add them because I just thought it would be so cool to have them when the time came, even if I didn't end up using them in this particular model. So I did mention in that clip that I wanted to make the fingers on the controller move, and I think I still hold true to that statement. I would really like to do that, but I would need to redraw it at, I think, a lower angle so you could see the fingers a little better. But they actually, the program, VTuber, has a really cool feature where you can actually sync things, different movements and physics, to either your mouse or your controller, which I think is really, really cool. So I think maybe later down the line, I will redo that and maybe have it move and sync to my actual hands, because I just think that would be such a cool touch. But for now, I don't mind it. I think it looks really cool, and I like having something that would be for different streams, because if you guys are around on multiple platforms, totally okay if you're not, but on Twitch I do a lot of gaming streams, and so that's why I wanted to add a controller. And as I mentioned, I mostly game on controller. There are a few games that I do on keyboard, but simply because it's not supported. Literally, I only use my keyboard on certain games because controller isn't supported. So that's why I wanted to add a controller. And then for the art pad here on YouTube, I do a lot of art streams, and I really wanted to add something to show you guys that I was drawing.
Okay, and of course, again, I forgot to record, but you know, whatever. So I have blinking, as you can see, and sometimes if there's enough input in the mic, she'll talk. It's not doing it right now, which is so cool. Love it when that happens. But anyways, but I've also started, and I think I'm pretty almost done, but I've started adding some really minor physics, which I think is really fun. But yeah, anyways, I'm still going. She's not done yet. But I'm really happy with the ears. I think they're very fun. Yeah, I honestly, now that I see it on camera, I think I might make it a little bit more, like more physics. But anyways, we'll see.
I'm really kicking myself for not filming more because I just get into the zone and then I forget. I completely forget to film. But anyways, I actually, off camera, before I took this clip, it took me forever. And again, this is probably me being stupid, and I'm sure there was a better way to do this. But the way I did it is I had to add every single layer by hand and name it, because for whatever reason, when I exported out of Procreate, it didn't keep the names of my layers. So everything was untitled canvas and then like a number, and my numbers went up to 130. So that was fun. So I didn't film that part because I thought that was kind of boring, but it took me a while. So the part that I didn't really film, and I'm not too mad about not filming because I think it would be very boring for you guys because it was boring for me. Was I had to put in every single layer individually, and then I went through and I parented the correct layers to what they needed to be parented to. If you guys don't know what that means, super basic explanation is something is the main parent and it affects all of its children. So in this specific case, I made the main parent the chest because humans, that's where part of your center of gravity is. Well, technically, your center of gravity is in your pelvis, but the pelvis is not visible in this model, so it's going to be the chest. So I made the center of gravity the chest, and then so everything was parented to the chest or in a chain that ended up at the chest. So the stomach was parented to the chest, the arms was parented to the chest, and so on. And then also, like, the face was parented to the neck, and the neck was parented to the chest. So stuff like that. It's really important to do it correctly because that's how you'll get your physics to work correctly, but it's quite tedious. This is a skill that I was pretty familiar with and that I had from Adobe After Effects. So this part was not new to me, but I understand that if this is a program you want to use and what I just said doesn't make any sense at all, I understand. But this is a common feature in a lot of digital art programs, and it's very, very useful. So the part that I didn't really film was me putting in all my layers one by one, renaming them, that was very important, and then parenting them to the correct layer. So I actually went through quite a few iterations of the physics. Mostly because what would happen is I would choose to do something a certain way, and I would start with the bottom of the physics chain, so the chest, and I would work my way up. Um, and then by the time I got about halfway, I would have discovered either, like, not necessarily a new feature, but a new way to utilize something. Or I discovered that I actually like something else better. So there's actually quite a few clips that I am not going to put in this, but where I thought I was done and I recorded, and then I proceeded to keep working on it for several hours, changing things around. So to spare you guys from that, I will only show you the finished product because this is a program that is really amazing and it's very thorough and it is very versatile. But with those amazing qualities comes the fact that you can mess around in it on a model forever. You can change whatever you want to be different, and and you can never be done if you want, of course. So there's quite a few iterations, and I actually had a few times where I recorded and I would say I was done, and then I would be like, I actually don't like what that looks like on camera. Because, you know, as any art piece people do, they're staring at it forever. And so it's kind of hard to see it after a while because you're just staring at it for hours and hours and hours. And that can be really difficult. So, what would often happen is I would work on it for a long time and then I would go to bed. Or, you know, I'd put it down because I had other things to do in that day. And I would come back to it and I'd be like, you know what? I actually feel like it's too stiff. Or, oh, that moves way too much. That's clipping through something. And so that's kind of a lot of what happened. And as I said, you could tweak and edit the model forever. And you would never be done. But after a certain point, I just kind of not needed to be done, but there was only so much I was going to be able to do with the model and all of the drawings I had. The cool part about this is after finishing this model, I still really love it. I'm really proud of it, and I will be using it for quite some time. But, you know, simply just doing this whole experience made me learn about like better ways to do things. And so maybe if I update my model again in the future, I'm going to take what I learned here and apply it to drawing it a little better. Or, you know, there are certain things that didn't work simply because I drew it incorrectly or I didn't have it quite cut off at the right area or whatever. Um, and I mentioned this later, but I also want to mention this now. Um, I made a bit of a mistake, and I'm curious if you guys will notice. You may have already noticed. I will show it to you in a second, and I will also show you the new model. I hope you guys are excited, because I am. Um, but if you guys know the mistake before me mentioning it, put it in the comments below and tell me what a dum dum I am. I mean, come on, it's literally my own model and I can't get it right. It's my own design. But that's enough yapping from me. I will show you the finished product. Right, and this is the final product. I am incredibly happy with this, given that I have never used this program before. Yeah, I even added some fun toggles, so if we are ever doing a fun art stream, I have my drawing pad, so we can do art together. And then, if it's getting a little hot in my room, I can take my jacket off. And if we're playing some games, I have everything I need. So, yeah, that's about it. I haven't exactly figured out how to make it perfect yet. It basically does mic input, so if I'm ever screaming, it will change my facial expression. So, for example, if I lose my temper because I lost my 50-50 in one of the 5 gacha games I play, then I will get really, really angry. Anyways, I'm not using my mic that is in my permanent setup, so I haven't bothered to really make it perfect yet. But yeah, so hopefully this will make things a lot more interesting. And I really enjoyed doing this. And I'll be sure to be adding lots of toggles and redeems for Twitch streams. And you'll see me on YouTube with this new model too. But anyways, I hope you guys like it. I hope you like the new model. And yeah, I was very grateful for all of the help I found and all the tutorials I found. I think VTuber is an amazing program, and the fact that it's free is really amazing. I am very grateful for the developers. I'm also grateful for all the people whose tutorials I watched, because I definitely did not pick up this program just by myself. I had a lot of help from the tutorials that I watched. So, if you guys are interested in this, you guys can go check out their tutorials. I'll put them in the description. But other than that, I hope you guys like this. And honestly, if you guys have any ideas to add things, please feel free to drop them in the comments below, because I am all about creating more art and adding more features to this model. But that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. I told you I didn't forget about this series. And yes, I will see you guys later, either here or on Twitch. Bye guys!